Defense Ministry in Moscow is meanwhile saying that its troops have used air and sea-based cruise missiles to attack military targets in Ukraine. The Ifax news agency has now confirmed reports that the southern city of Melitopol has been captured by Russia. France 24's senior reporter Catherine Norris-Trent is following developments for us on the ground, and she joins us now from the middle of Ukraine. Catherine, you're in the country's third biggest city, which is not too far from this city of Melitopol, which news agencies say has now been captured.
Yes, that's right. We'd heard that Melitopol had been coming under fierce attack ever since this Russian assault started. It is a port down there on the Sea of Azov, and Russians are going after these critical infrastructure points. So further east from there as well, there's been shelling on the port city of Mariupol. It really is a complex, multi-pronged attack. But what we're hearing from Melitopol, which is south of where I am, south down this river, the Dnieper River, which is the major river, the major waterway inside Ukraine, is that the Russians have been fighting fiercely there against Ukrainians who've been putting up a fierce resistance, and that they've been heading north out of Crimea, which Russia annexed in 2014. And in cities all along this river, there have been air raid sirens, there have been people huddling in bomb shelters. Where we were yesterday in the city of Zaporizhzhia, there we witnessed ourselves people rushing down into underground basements to try and get to safety, terrified, and telling us they didn't know where to go next. So this region is very much on the alert, because as we've seen, Russian military are not only attacking Kyiv, which is clearly a very intense situation, but they're attacking different fronts and strategic targets. And you can see this vast river behind me, the Dnieper River, which has a number of hydroelectric dams and power plants on it, and divides Ukraine into east and west, basically. So this is clearly a central strategic point in any war for Ukraine, and people here are very aware that they could very well be the next target as Russian troops, if they do, move north.
Now, Catherine, you've been on the ground in Ukraine for several days already as this invasion intensifies. You've of course, been talking to locals on the ground. What have they been telling you as their country teeters effectively on the verge of collapse?
Well, of course, there is a lot of fear, a lot of foreboding about the war which is now raging upon them. So people are afraid. They've been trying to stay calm, but we are seeing signs of that fear. Long lines outside petrol stations, people trying to get cash, and that's very difficult for a lot of people because cash machines are running down. Communications haven't been cut yet, but sometimes they are patchy, and people are also stocking up on food things. You know, in cities where we've been, where there has been shelling, people have been running for shelter. Of course, when air raid sirens sound, that they've been running to get safe. But the overriding message they get is that they're bewildered. They don't know where to go. Some of them tell us they're going to head west to Lviv and try and get out of Ukraine. So that's going to look to be a major humanitarian situation, we can imagine, building up there in the west of the country as more people try to flee. Others say they are going to stay in their homes, that they just don't have anywhere else to go. And then there's a defiance. People who are being galvanized by this Russian attack, this full-out assault, saying that whatever the cost, they will stay and fight for their homes. And when you ask them how they feel about, you know, being outnumbered, overpowered by the might of the Russian army, they say that, you know, the Ukrainian army has built up a lot in the past 8 years since conflict broke out in 2014, and that they have every confidence. So it'd be really interesting to see how much of that is fighting talk and trying to keep up morale, and how much of a battle people are going to put up.
OK, Catherine Norris-Trent, thank you very much.